MG42 quickly suppressing the British troops. Pack fire hitting the rear of the Staghound. The Staghound continuing to remain in the arc of the pack. Apparently the pack tried to maneuver a bit. Panzer Shrek shot also hitting the Staghound, and looks like the pack will knock it out. Apparently not entirely. There we go, main gun destroyed, and a Panzer Shrek shot finally wrecks it in its entirety. The MG42 though has been left out in the open. And the lieutenant is forced into a full rout, but this victory strategic point has fallen into the hands of the British, denying the Germans most of the map and the resources. Not good. And still not actually salvaging any of these many British vehicles for munitions, albeit there are pioneers actually to do it, so I'm not sure what's going on here. And we see Sturm Armory being researched, Volksgrenadiers being reinforced, and so far the Germans have managed to take these points while the British have been occupied in the west. And now we see Cromwell tanks being produced. The second Cromwell moving onto the field, while the British are quickly moving in, taking what they imagine is theirs, albeit I imagine the 21st Panzer Division will try their best to prove them wrong.
The enemy advances.
Still not going for any of those vehicles though. Could really give him a lot of munitions, which would certainly be advantageous.
Pioneers here.
Equipping flamethrowers, and we see the Cromwells sneaking about, staying behind the British infantry, which is certainly not a bad idea. Grenadiers lining up, and we'll have to see what they're doing. Moving straight out into the open, not a good idea. In particular with tanks nearby. The Panzer Shrek shot hitting the front of the Cromwell. Grenadiers not looking too good. Looks like this Grenadier team might be lost if... And there we go, dropping the Panzer Shrek though, but a Grenadier team is down. Volksgrenadiers suffering losses, trying to hit the tanks with the Panzer Shreks, but really they need to get out of there before all is lost. Those two Cromwells will really be able to inflict a lot of damage on the Grenadiers and Volksgrenadiers. Recon sections, no, Rifle Grenadier section suffering a bit of losses, forced to pull back. Very errant Panzer Shrek shot flying away, and recon section moving in as well. Further British troops and officers are hiding nearby. Bodies flung to all sides as Volksgrenadiers are taking heavy fire from all the armor and of course the British troops. Pioneers moving into this building and apparently not in range with the flamethrowers, most tragically, so they'll probably be lost. Volksgrenadiers moving in for a Panzerfaust shot, which I think might be a bit of a waste considering the actual damage capability against Cromwell's. Cromwell's shot firing after, and these troops really need to get reinforced. And we see Veterancy 2 going up for the Grenadiers and Volksgrenadiers, albeit for the Grenadiers. Elite armor does not actually provide protection against tank fire. They'll take just as much damage and be just as much dead after a shot. So keep that in mind. Not a lot of infantry. In fact, has very little at the moment. Only a Pioneer team, one Grenadier team and 2 Volksgrenadier teams, and a Pack 38, whereas the British has much more. But the German forces do manage to catch these recon troops out in the open, killing 2-1, being blown into tiny bits and flung everywhere. While the German troops are hunting down the second recon section, Captain firing away with his Ripley revolver most heroically, as a Bren gun section provides covering fire. German troops moving across open terrain, again not really a good idea. Cromwell tanks apparently first reacting now to this, but this is not going to end up well for these German troops now. 75mm high explosive rounds hitting amongst the German troops, already killing a few Grenadiers. Panzer Shreks hitting the Cromwells, and heavy losses for the German troops. Will really need to get out of there before all is lost. And there we go, getting out of there. Barely any survivors. And we see a Panzer Command going up for Kuoppa and the 21st Panzer Division, while the 30th Armored Corps is licking its wounds and preparing for a fresh offensive. Plenty of troops and armor to accomplish that. then again he could just decide to hold these 2 victory points and do absolutely nothing. That's certainly also within his prerogative, considering he does hold 2 of the victory points and has the majority of infantry. And we see armor veterancy 1 going up for the Germans. So we can certainly expect him to use this Panzer command for something. Question will be what though? German infantry ready once more for a fresh attack. MP40 is being given out to 1 team while the rest of the German troops are equipped with Panzerschrecks. Grenadiers being equipped with 2, in fact, being turned into a bit of a tank buster team instead. Panzerschreck rounds flying around the ears of the rifled grenadiers, not really managing to kill anyone, much to their enjoyment, I imagine. Cromwell's charging in, sappers in tow, and looks like the German troops will be setting up here within that building. Heavy losses for the German troops. 1 Panzerschreck dropped, 1 Cromwell knocked out. Apparently the British did not repair that one for some reason. And a Panzerschreck is left behind. Oh dear, not good at all. In particular if the British actually pick it up. Cromwell's backing up, apparently not too keen on rushing ahead without support and possibly getting knocked out by whatever's hiding. And we see the Bren gunners picking up that Panzerschreck, ready to use it against Jerry. Nothing really coming out of that Panzer command. Not a lot of manpower, I imagine most of it being used to reinforce these troops. 3 command points so far, and the British have successfully ensconced themselves heavily within this part of the map. Pack apparently moving towards the base to set up in preparation for what he suspects will be a base assault, which is certainly not a bad suspicion. But question is, will he actually be validated in that belief? And we see a Firefly is on the field as well. The Sherman Firefly, which is the British result of mounting the 17-pounder gun on a Sherman tank. Looks like the troops are going for a different approach instead of right here, where they'll just be mangled once more by Cromwell's. Plenty of fuel though for the British, and we see a commando insertion right at the strategic point and forced to retreat in the face of all this infantry. And we see a Panzer IV coming out of the Panzer command. So certainly follow suit with the 21st Panzer Division, which actually did not have any Panthers for it, but had to rely on Panzer IVs and Geschützwagens. German troops sneaking in through the southern approach, it would seem. Might go for this strategic point and the victory point once more. MP40s and a Panzerschreck, and setting up in this building. I'm not entirely sure I'd agree with giving them MP40s though. Better to have them actually be able to use ranged weaponry, in particular when just having them in a house, since MP40s aren't really that much use on the range. Cromwell's reacting to this, and the Firefly and all the British infantry as well, except these few northern defenders. Grenadiers caught out in the open, pulling back with all haste. Probably going to try and set up position behind the pickup truck, which heroically takes a shot for them. And the pickup truck is blown to pieces. Sherman Firefly taking 2 shots, and the Grenadiers running out of there. Only 1 man left, the rest are lost at the pickup truck. And the Foot Grenadiers are setting up in a defensive position near this house of MP40 equipped ones, hiding behind a pair of boxes, and not really able to fire back with their MP40 since they have very short range. Panzerschreck shot apparently hitting and not penetrating the front of the Cromwell, charging right ahead, taking heavy fire from all of the Cromwells, and the Volksgrenadiers are forced to retreat, leaving only 1 team left. Lots of high explosive shells hitting the building, knocking out parts of the wall, forcing the last team into a full rout. And we see a Panzer IV right here in a defensive position, and another Panzer IV on the way as well. really going heavily for the armor, it would seem, while the commanders are taking back the strategic point. And a second commando insertion. Again, they really could have grabbed some of all these munitions, and now going straight for this strategic point once more. Certainly a lot of manpower being used for this, and the Panzer IV having a bit of a holiday at the back. Nothing to actually react to this seizure of the points, which I not certainly agree with. Certainly could be he's trying to keep them in surprise, which would certainly not be a bad idea, except he's still retaining those same 3 infantry teams and not really showing that, oh yeah, I'm doing something more beyond that, which is not tanks. Instead, he might actually make his opponent believe, he might be stocking up on tanks against me. And we see a demolition charge going down, which is certainly not a bad idea. Smoke being dropped, and the commandos getting out of there. Grenadiers and grenadiers moving in. Probably going to be aware that a demolition charge has been dropped, but we'll have to see if he's aware of the possibility, in which case he'll probably have some method of dealing with it. Commanders forced to retreat in the face of all of these Germans with guns. Grenadiers apparently accidentally retreated, and not sure what will happen now. Firing away here, knocking out the glider, but continuing apparently to find the ground, perhaps. We'll have to see. Flamethrowers joining in as well. Firing away at this point, hoping to knock out the demolition charge. So far no luck. Lots of British forces not really being aggressive, just sitting back there, despite the fact he probably has a decisive advantage. Laying down a lot of demolition charges though everywhere, going to use them as a sort of improvised mine, which they can certainly be used as. Grenadiers taking this point, and we see another commando team sneaking about, probably going to lay down further demolition charges, really put a stop. And we have artillery raining in on this position. Commando artillery, a few rounds landing, denying the Germans the strategic point for a bit longer, and a third commando insertion landing right next to this victory point, hoping to seize it. Infantry charging in while the pioneers are going for the strategic point. Tanks and infantry having a spot of tea and not really doing anything. Commandos suffering losses and forced into a full retreat as MP40 fire is all around them. A tiny hailstorm. Glider wrecked, and we see, I do believe this is decoy smoke, since artillery can't actually be heard. And now we have the actual barrage going in, where the German infantry get out of their time. No, 2 being killed, 1 being sent through the air, and only being grenadiers, so that's certainly going to be a bit expensive. Lots of manpower, and apparently going for a 3rd Panzer IV, but might want to use some of all that manpower for something else, like some grenadiers or Volksgrenadiers or another pack. Instead of just floating all of that manpower. And let's have a look at the British. In fact, how are 30th Corps doing? Not so much manpower. Lots of things being set up. Lots of demolition charges. Really using all of his munitions for it, it seems. Not sure where the manpower is going though. Probably for all of these commando gliders. Recon section moving towards the south. Pack in a nice defensive position.